Okay, some exceptions then. There are some long vowels which have their own special rules. Okay, so the first one here, and you find this quite often in the Quran, is we've got the word bihi, and you see it's got this small little ya which indicates it's going too long, bihi, and there's also a mad sign or madda sign on top of it, the little tilde type shape, probably because the next word in the next sentence starts with a hamza, so it could have gone maybe for long as well. However, if we're stopping here, effectively the ha with the kasra will go sakin, so this would be read as bih. Okay, so bih takes a bit of practice, got to bring the ha from the bottom of the throat, so just read the ha with the kasra as if it's sakin. And the next one is again with the ha, but this time it's got the dhamma and it's got the small little dhamma in front of it as well, which is effectively telling us this is going to be read too long. So this would normally be rizqahu. Okay, but if you're stopping, again the ha goes sakin, so this will simply be rizqah, rizqah, and again you've got to bring a tiny bit of the ha from the bottom of your throat. Okay, and the last example is this one. So you'll see this in quite a few, they're normally verbs. Here we have qalu, and we haven't covered this actual symbol. In the Uthmani script you'll find these alifs with a round circle, and in this case that round circle is not a sukoon. Okay, it is literally a round circle, because in the Uthmani script, if you look at the example before, we've got a sukoon on top of the za. Okay, and that is the normal sukoon. So this is actually a round circle on the alif, and this is telling us that that alif is not read in any way. It's used as a sort of end of word marker in grammar. So this, we have qalu, that's how you'd normally read it. If you're stopping, you read it exactly the same. You read it as qalu, okay, as if that alif with the round circle is not read anyway, and when you stop it's not read, but we still do the long vowel dhamma waw as too long. Okay, now stopping on fathatain. When stopping on fathatain, it is always read as a fatha alif. So what do we mean by this? Here we have a word ha sa dan. However, if you're stopping, and we've got these two brackets here indicating the stop sign, then you effectively, what you're actually doing, from the tanween you drop out the noon sakin. So you're left with, in this case, the dal with fatha. So instead of dan you have da, just fatha, and you've still got the alif. Because of that you read it as ha sada. Another example, and we've put this one up, is shay an. Shay'an. And the reason we've done that is normally when the hamza has fathatain, they don't put the alif after it. All the other letters, whenever they do fathatain, they will write the alif after it. So in this case it behaves exactly the same. You drop the noon sakin in the tanween, so you're left with a fatha. However, when you read this, you still read it as if it's fatha alif, so that would be read as shay'a, too long. And again, the same rule applies when you have fathatain followed by alif maqsura, i.e. the alif painted as a ya, because essentially that alif maqsura is an alif. So in this case you've got hudan, it becomes huda, too long. Now the next rule, some words when stopping become long vowels because the last letter is a waw or a ya. For example, if you have the word huwa and you're stopping, the waw goes sakin, and effectively this turns into the long vowel dhamma waw. So it would be read as who, too long. And here we have hiya, which we're stopping on, so the ya goes sakin, so effectively it becomes the long vowel kasra ya, so this becomes he, too long. Okay, now we're going to look at what happens when the last letter carries a shadda. So a letter with shadda is read as if it has a sukoon on it. There are just a few things to keep in mind. First thing, if the last letter is echo and with shadda, then the echo is of the highest intensity, and that's according to some scholars. We covered this on the lesson about the echo or qalqala letters. So this would be, instead of reading this as watab, this would be slightly more intense. It would be watab. Okay, and that's to help us remember or to know that there was a shadda on that last letter that became an echo letter. The next rule is if the waw or the ya carries a shadda, then when made sakin, the waw and the ya are read with more emphasis but only one length long. So here we have ilayya, and if that was to be read at the end of a sentence, the ya goes sakin, but you cannot read it as a diphthong fatha ya, so you cannot say ilay, i.e. too long. Instead you say ilay, ilay. Okay, so you put more emphasis on the ya and cut it down to one long. Some people will say this is as if you're reading two yas. And the next one is aduun, and if you read that at the end of the sentence, the waw goes sakin, and what you don't want to do is read it as if it's the long vowel dhamma waw. So you don't want to read it as adu. You've got to again cut this short to a length of 1 and overemphasize the waw. So this would be adu. Okay, so again it's as if there's two vowels there. That's how some people would describe it. So both of those, cut them down to a length of 1 and overemphasize the ya or the waw. Okay, so in conclusion, we should understand how to pronounce words when you stop or pause when reading. And just a reminder, we know that this is a complex area and that more study is required at a higher level of Tajweed.